Welcome to Sitcom Showdown, a podcast that reviews classic sitcom episodes and inducts them into our very own Hall of Fame. As usual, one of us has chosen a sitcom episode and the other guy has no idea what it's going to be. Will they already know it? Will they love it? Can they be convinced that it's worthy? Let's find out on the Sitcom Showdown.
Welcome back, listeners, to Sitcom Showdown, episode number 79. I'm Steve, and I've got Jeff here as well.
Hello.
Hello. Well,
G'day.
it's October, and as per tradition, I'm busting out a Halloween-themed episode.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And I've chosen an episode for 2020 called, well, it's a sitcom called Wellington Paranormal.
Oh,
Have
yes,
you heard of
okay,
this?
yes, I've heard of this.
Oh, you're in for a treat,
It's
Jeff.
a spin-off.
It's a spin-off, yes.
It's a spin-off, bro.
Off of What We Do in the Shadows, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And which has had a TV show. I don't know, is that a spin-off of itself?
Or is it a
It's a movie?
reimagining? No, well,
It's a
I think
something.
different cast, so.
Yes, well done, Jeff. That's exactly what it is. So this isn't a Halloween-themed episode of a normal sitcom. It's a normal episode from a supernaturally-themed sitcom. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, as I'm normally the one bending the rules,
Yeah.
then, I can't say anything at all about that. I'm in no position to comment. Yeah.
No, I can bend all the rules I want.
But, I mean, we should have some sort of fanfare for having our first New Zealand sitcom,
Yeah.
should we not?
In fact, I chose this to be my selection for the episode from a different country.
Oh, well, so you're ticking two boxes here.
Yeah. I bent the rules again and I'm
Dude.
slotting it in here.
Yeah.
This is an episode called Taniwha, but it's actually spelt Taniwha, but it's pronounced Taniwha.
Okay.
Or, in Australia, and possibly other places, this is called the Not Ness Monster.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll all become clear eventually.
Wasn't there an episode of The Goodies where they, the one where they go to catch a Nessie for
Oh, I do.
the zoo?
Yeah, they absolutely do. And they encounter the bagpipe spider.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
it's
that-
terrifying.
All that fun stuff. Yeah, well, this is... You're going to be similarly terrified tonight.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So this is episode 1 of season 2.
Traditionally, episode 1s of seasons 2s are usually pretty good.
Yeah, they're
Mm.
usually a strong opening. And this has gone on to 3 seasons. We're running 3 seasons from 2018 onwards. I don't know if the coronavirus situation has slowed that down at all. Presumably. Anyway, this is a mockumentary comedy horror series, as I've already said. And the general description is Sgt Maaka and officers Minogue and O'Leary of the Wellington Police Force investigate paranormal phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't get much more simple than that, does it?
Not really, no.
Wellington being known as a hotbed for all things supernatural.
Yeah? Obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, blimey.
Of course. And as we said, this is a spin-off of the 2014 film What We Do in the Shadows.
Mm.
And its lead characters, officers Minogue and O'Leary, first appeared in that film as a pair of incurious police officers.
Right. So they presumably, because I haven't seen that movie, of course, find themselves in a paranormal situation and don't twig to what's going on, and hilarity ensues because they don't know how much potential quote-unquote danger they could be in.
That's it, Jeff.
From these ineffectual vampires.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say Minogue only survives on his...
The power of ignorance?
The power of ignorance, yeah.
Yeah, he was harnessing the power of ignorance.
If he knew what he was really in for, he'd be panicking all over the place. All right, so this is on the TVNZ2 network.
Right.
So this was created by Taika and Jemaine, who wrote, directed, and performed in What We Do in the Shadows. And Jemaine also created What We Do in the Shadows, the TV version,
Right.
which we talked about in episode 71.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on to the actors now.
Yeah.
So we've got the name thing going on. You know how the name of the actor matches the name of the character?
It's very rare.
So, very rare.
Yeah, I feel.
I think it's more common than I thought we'd
Really?
established it was a common thing.
Oh, I thought it was quite rare in that, But no, I'm happy to be corrected. Hit me with all the...
All right, well, let's see what's going on here. So we've got Mike Minogue as Officer Kyle Minogue.
Okay.
Not Kylie Minogue.
No. No, fair enough.
Don't get too excited.
Yeah.
Karen O'Leary as Officer O'Leary.
Yeah.
So both Mike and Karen obviously are in this show. They were in What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, and they've done some other TV bits and pieces.
Right, but only in New Zealand.
Only, to the best of my knowledge, only in NZ.
Oh, I thought they might have, popped over to England and done some stuff, and pop over to America and do some stuff. And
if they have, it didn't jump out to me on their pages.
I just figured that when you've got, Taika and Jemaine as connections, you know what I mean? Anyway, never mind. They failed to leverage that network, haven't they?
Yeah, but maybe they think, no, I don't need to go beyond these magnificent shores.
Now, good point. That's quite wise, isn't it? Yeah. Why would anyone leave New Zealand?
Yeah.
That seems crazy to me. Okay, yeah, so I'll take it all back, Steve.
All the paranormal things going on might drive you out. I don't know. Then we've got Maaka Pahatu as Sgt Maaka.
Okay.
So his first name is Maaka, and he's playing Sgt Maaka.
All right.
He's another actor and a musician, and we get to see some of his musical skills in this episode.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he's the founding member of the Maori show band, the Modern Maori Quartet, and he's writes and performs songs. It's pretty cool.
Oh.
Also in this episode, there's an appearance from Clark Gayford.
Right.
Now, do you know who Clark Gayford is?
No.
No. So Clark is he's in The Biz in New Zealand.
All right.
He's a writer and producer, and his partner is PM Jacinda Ardern.
Oh, I see. So he has leveraged that network. Very well done.
What do you mean? He leveraged the network to get...
No, I dare say there'd be some arts funding. He just go, Dal. Hey, Dal, I need some arts funding for me show.
You've just put the triangle together.
Yeah, thank you.
Then the PM puts a word into TV NZ too.
Still, there's going to be all these sorts of, far out connections and stuff because it's a paranormal show.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe they were just going through the ether or something.
Well, that's right.
So that's kind of an interesting thing about this episode.
Well, I'm going to keep my eye on.
Yeah, keep an eye out
from now on because you never know what sort of she might be levitating or what are some other superpowers. Oh, well, let's not go down that road. Let's get back into the show.
All right. Well, in fact, we should go and watch it.
List of local people who have all gone missing in the past month, all around the coast. Now, this part is top secret. One of the missing persons is close to a government official.
Prime Minister's fiancé?
Correct. Good police work.
It says the Prime Minister's fiancé right here.
Put two and two together.
Yeah.
There you go. At least 10 fishermen and fisherwomen have all gone missing in the past week alone.
Fishmen and fishwomen.
Okay, now you're undoing your good police work.
Yeah.
Fishermen.
Oh, that's not as scary.
And get this, even though these have all occurred on separate incidences, no one saw what took them.
Well, I mean, unless people did see what took them, and then they got taken as well.
Well,
don't say that.
Well, it's logical though, isn't it? I mean, it's...
I don't like the sound of that.
From watching the Waititi Taniwha.
On the beach.
On the beach.
Yes.
And in the water.
And we shouldn't have been watching it. We've got to give him some privacy, Steve.
Yes, that's all right. All right, what happened? Well, we start off this episode in the briefing room of the police force, the Wellington Police Force, where the Sarge is giving them a briefing at the start of the shift. Now, most of the crew, most of the contingent is being tasked to work on the case of the missing Mazda, and Minogue and O'Leary are getting put on the case of the 10 missing persons, which someone suggests is a bit of a misallocation of resources. I don't know. Missing Mazda's pretty important, Jeff.
Yeah.
Got to get right onto that.
That cracked me up.
Yeah. And then we go
I wasn't even in the room at that point and it cracked me up.
Yeah. Then we go to I think it's a very X-Files opening tune. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely, man. It's supposed to evoke the X-Files for sure. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's pretty groovy. And then, having shut the formal meeting down, Sarge takes O'Leary and Minogue through to the not-so-secret office.
Yeah, which has, it's it's probably meant to remind you of Mulder's office with the posters up everywhere and
did he have string
things on the wall?
bits of
Yeah,
string connecting
all that sort of gear.
different things.
Yep. So
All that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So as I said, Sarge is taking them through the case of the missing persons in more detail, disclosing all the kind of gossy information that he couldn't do in the briefing. So 10 Fisher persons have gone missing in the last week alone, and the Prime Minister's fiancée. That's not good. And there's no eyewitnesses as to who or what took them.
Yeah.
O'Leary says, well, it could be that someone saw them get taken, and then the people that saw them got taken. They go,
I don't like that.
No, don't say that. Don't say that. Anyway, the Sarge has a theory, but he's not going to let on what it is. But he does give them little tidbits as we kind of make our way through the episode, which is quite funny. So they move on. He takes O'Leary, Minogue, and Parker. Parker's tagging along, which is unusual. And he's taking them to the mouth of the harbour, where all 10 missing persons cases happened and were accompanied by a seismic event.
Okay.
So we get to Tapu Point, and it's getting on in the afternoon. And when they arrive down there, they interview this chap on the beach, who seems to
He's
have been...
Captain Unhelpful.
He's Captain Unhelpful. He's possibly unhelpful because he's been carrying out some illegal fishing activity.
Absolutely,
yeah. So he doesn't give them anything. They say something along the lines of, it's not unusual to get conflicting information when you're interviewing eyewitnesses, but it is unusual to get conflicting information from the same eyewitness.
Yeah. Which is one of the all-time classic lines.
Yeah.
It's on my list.
So the plan here is for Parker to camp out alone on the beach.
Yeah.
I'm not sure this is what he signed up for, Jeff. So he's going to carry out surveillance from there.
Yes.
And then, because he's a bit nervous about this, Sarge has rigged up an early warning device for him involving a cup of Milo and some sensors.
Right.
And if he's to look for ripples or concentric circles in the Milo.
Yeah.
And
just like in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, and if you see that, head for the hills, right? Yes, pay close attention. It could be the difference between life and a very gruesome death.
Yeah.
So that's Parker. Now the other three, Sarge has got a hold of the police maritime launch. He's got special permission to use the maritime launch.
Yeah, the maritime division, which implies that they've got...
Unit.
Yeah, the maritime unit. So they've got, implies
sounds impressive.
Many officers and a fleet of boats, but it's a tiny little ancient...
barely more than a dinghy.
My goodness.
Looks like they'd be pumping water out.
Yeah, and one dude.
Captain Quinn.
Yeah.
He's the archetypal
pirate
sea captain. He's got an eye patch.
And a hook for a hand.
You would think there's a great story behind his eye patch, but he's just got pink eye.
Yeah.
And he's got a hook for a hand. Now, how did he...
Yeah, he said...
There must be a great story behind that too.
And then you think, if he's winding them up with a "you'll like this," preparing them for this awesome tale of how it happened, but he just said incinerator, which, as I pointed out to you, must be some sort of garbage disposal unit in your sink.
Yeah, he decided to fish something out of some precious item, perhaps.
Yeah.
Out of the sink and got munched.
Yep.
Where are we here?
Well, they've just
totally
decided to call in the vast maritime unit.
All the power of it.
So they're going to take to the water state.
Yes, and the power of the maritime unit includes a sonar device.
Oh yeah.
On something which is a bit bigger than a mobile phone.
Yeah.
So they're not completely blind and helpless. Back on the beach, Parker, who is no Bear Grylls by any stretch of the imagination, is turning in for the night, and he recklessly asks the film, like he's going to bed, right, in the tent, and he asks the film crew to watch the Milo.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be on stakeout, Jeff.
Yes. He is. He's supposed to be watching this like a hawk. He's been asking for this opportunity for goodness knows how long. And he gets his opportunity. And what does he do? Oh, he's just going to go to bed.
Fool. full. The other crew is telling scary stories in the boat out on the harbour, waiting for something to happen. And when it's the Sarge's turn, he tells the story of Taniwha, which is a mythical aquatic beast from the Wellington region. And just as he finishes, something huge appears on the sonar, and they're all busy watching this thing, and he says, I can't think of anything more interesting ever than watching this thing that's on the screen right now. And of course, from our viewpoint, we can see this huge Taniwha eye
through the window.
Through the window of the boat. And it kind of moves away and then splashes down into the water.
Yep.
And now, because they're all watching the sonar so closely, they can see that it's moving away at speed towards Parker and his beach. Now, at 5:48 a.m, we cut back to Parker on the beach, and you can see it's just about dawn. And then a further hour later, our team from the boat reaches the beach, finding that Parker is gone and the tent has been torn to shreds. So, I don't know. It's not looking good for him, is it?
I assumed he was dead.
Yeah, and we find a massive footprint. So we now know that the Taniwha is an aquatic, amphibious beast as well, which isn't good news.
And this footprint is enormous. Like, if you were to lie down in it, Steve, it would be one of the toes sort of thing. It's huge. It's way bigger than the Loch Ness Monster. I remarked upon it at the time. It's the size of...
It's the mighty Taniwha.
Yeah, the mighty Taniwha dwarfs the piffling Loch Ness Monster. Yeah, exactly.
So they're looking at this footprint, and then there's this scream, and they see this arm waving in the water, which, as we know, is it the international sign of distress for somebody?
Help me, I'm drowning. Yeah, you put your hand up, and the lifeguards come running, and they come to save you.
So they dispatch Minogue to go into the water and rescue this person. But first, the Sarge says, Minogue, before you go in, give me a hat, give me a vest. And then O'Leary says, and give me the taser.
Yeah. But then why do they do this? Has he got some valuable equipment that they don't want damaged on his vest?
Of course.
And they can't afford replacement uniforms, so they want his hat.
Wellington Police Force can't be
bankrolling
willy-nilly
these
throwing things around, getting them soaking wet.
Okay, well, that clears that up for me then.
We've already seen the scope of their budget in the maritime unit.
Their fellow officers drowning here. Well, no, actually, not a fellow officer, because they don't know that. Oh, no, I've spoiled. Well, they think it's Parker in the water.
Yes.
Right.
So Minogue gets in about waist deep, and he then turns around and runs back out again going, let's go, let's go. Oh, I should have said that the Sarge is wearing waders, but he refuses to go in.
Well, he's the Sarge.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have to do anything.
He gets to order other people around. Anyway, so Minogue gets in the water.
We're going to come back to this because it's got many funny elements.
Yes, so Minogue finally gets fully into the water to the point of rescuing this person, and he grabs the arm, and there's no person attached to the arm. He just picks the arm up. Yeah. And goes, ah!
Even Sarge was rattled by that one.
Yes.
But like O'Leary, she's never rattled by anything ever.
No, she's cool as a cucumber.
Not that I saw in this episode, but very convincing as a police officer.
Yep.
My goodness.
She's pretty good.
Yeah, where do they go from here?
Oh. Where do they go from here?
They've got to put it in the esky, or as they call it, a chili bin.
Chili bin?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they put it in the chili bin, and that's the arm, that is. And then O'Leary, being the cool, calm, collected one, suggests that they follow these tracks into this cave that's yonder, which they do. And going into the cave, they find all the missing persons except for Parker.
Yeah.
Now, this includes the same unhelpful guy who they questioned earlier in the day. And he's still refusing to give them any information about how he got stuck to the cave wall and covered in seaweed. And one of the people there is, of course, the Prime Minister's partner. And he says, yep, classic Taniwha. So they must take a bit of time to get all these people unglued from whatever the Taniwha uses to attach them to the wall.
Yep. Oh, so before we move on...
Yes, all right. Before we move on.
I don't mean to stop you in the middle of your flow, but did that remind you of anything, sci-fi-wise?
Yes, it does, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
Oh, okay.
It's got to be Doctor Who, I would think.
Oh, well, I mean, I'd say 3 or 4 things, but I'm going to say Alien. One of the Alien movies, for sure. Yeah, people have been stuck to the wall, but are still alive.
Yes.
For later consumption.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the PM's partner's theory.
Yeah.
is
Oh,
that
they're
they're
food.
being saved for food later. So they're unattaching all these people and they're making their way down the beach. It's now night time again. And the Taniwha appears over the cliff behind this cave and they all start sprinting away. The guy who is the uncooperative witness,
Yeah.
he says, "Oh, no, I don't believe you guys," or whatever. He's the last one in the line and he gets chomped.
Yeah, because he has expressed his cynicism about the existence of the
That's
Taniwha,
it.
and he's saying it's bullcrap.
Yeah.
And then he turns to the camera and goes, "Oh, it's bullcrap." And then after a few more seconds, you look back,
It's just a pair of boots.
pair of Wellingtons there, ironically.
Yeah.
And what does O'Leary say, Dave?
He says, "We're going to need a bigger chili. Need a bigger chili bit."
There's a lot
classic.
of brilliant detached limb dialogue in this whole episode.
Yes, well, I forgot to mention that after the chomping, the Taniwha makes its way to the water and then disappears. But don't worry, he's being tracked on the sonar by Captain Quinn, and the Sarge has also got some kind of a handheld device now
Okay.
that he can use to follow where it's going. So they're tracking it in an attempt to save precious Wellingtonian lives.
Right. Yeah.
It's an expression I've never heard before. Quite like that.
They've got these 9 now. 10 people. Who cares? They've got some victims.
They just
And them.
dump them, right?
So what, do
'Cause
they...
they're-
This is my question. So they don't have a bus there. So what, they just hop in the patrol car and they go squealing off to
Yeah.
wherever.
yeah.
And these people who are probably freezing and traumatised and
Yep.
covered in Taniwha spit.
But it's the greater good.
Oh, yes, okay.
Because
the needs
the-
of the even many outweigh the needs of the many.
Exactly. Because the Taniwha's headed directly towards Oriental Bay, which is a much more built-up area. If they run amok through there, Jeff,
Oh, yeah.
could be talking hundreds or thousands of lives on
Yeah.
the line. So they're rushing back to Oriental Bay.
Okay, fair enough.
And they must arrive there just a smidgen before the Taniwha because they have enough time to pause and honour Parker's memory.
Yeah.
And the Sarge pulls out his pipe again.
Yeah. Although,
Which is really nice.
while they were in the vehicle driving along,
Yep.
and they're sort of tracking it, O'Leary says, "Oh, well, there it is," and points out the window, and, because they're driving along the water,
Yep.
the water's edge, so to speak, they can see the Taniwha out the window going at roughly the same speed as them,
Maybe-
barreling towards.
Maybe they take a shortcut.
Okay.
So they're honouring Parker's memory, and as they've got their heads bowed, he actually rocks up. And the Sarge says, "What are you doing here?" Because he was presumed dead. Well, I was cold on the beach, and the tide was coming up, so I went home to Mum's place.
He is useless.
What happened to the film crew
Oh, yeah, wow.
who were with him?
They all got eaten.
Yeah, they all
But
got eaten.
it's okay because, you didn't know him that well,
No,
so who cares?
Didn't know that well. Now, Captain Quinn, he radios in, and he's reading a second signal.
Yep.
Suddenly, 2 Taniwha breach the water at Oriental Bay and start fighting like Godzillas,
Yes.
according to Minogue.
Yep.
And he says, "Should we call the Air Force?"
Oh, what's the response to that? No, they'll get destroyed.
Yeah, Sarge isn't keen on destroying the Taniwha.
No, well, I thought he meant the Air Force for a minute there.
Oh, serious?
Calling the Air Force, New Zealand Air Force, probably 1.5 planes.
Is
Get
I don't
on
know if
with
the
it.
Air Force is the equivalent of the maritime unit.
Yeah, well, this is... They've already downplayed their resources once, so it's not too unfair to assume that... Yeah. Anyway,
That's right.
I
We're like an
reckon
underdog.
a whipped-up, vicious Taniwha could easily whack a plane out of the air with one swish of its...
Yeah, almost certainly.
Yeah.
Sarge, seeing this, orders Quinn to get the boats out of the harbour. But before he can do that, they look at what's going on and they realise, well, one of them says, "One of them's growing a second neck." I don't think that's a neck.
No.
And suddenly they realise that this is actually a mating couple in heat. And they go on to copulate in the water for, well, what Sarge is tracking at one point is for 2 hours and 48 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's a marathon lovemaking session, Jeff.
Yeah, as Minogue puts it, Sarge insists they turn their backs,
Yeah, and they
give them some privacy.
they pixelate
Yeah,
the image as well, which, as you said, is a brilliant way to cut costs on special effects.
yes. There's a lot of cost cutting on special effects in this, but we'll cover that later perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And so we've reached the end of the episode. Yes, but I mean, they have killed. So they've come to the Oriental Harbour and they're lovemaking. They're making love.
Yeah, so when you say they, I think it's important that we must clarify.
We're not talking about the police.
Okay.
Yeah, so my question to you...
Yes.
Focus, Steve. My question to you, Jeffrey, is has all the threat just gone away somehow?
Yeah.
Like, why does it...
It sort of fizzled out at the end there, but I think, maybe they're working on the assumption that, like many creatures, once the Taniwha have had a bit of a role in the aquatic hay,
yes,
you want to chill out and smoke an aquatic cigarette afterwards. They're going to have a bit of a lie down. They won't go on rampant destruction.
This harbour might be, just the place that they meet up every 10 or 20 years.
Yeah. No, once every 1,000 years. Steve.
Once every 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And then having met together, they'll depart immediately back to wherever they normally are.
And make a Taniwha nest.
Yes. Who knows? Anyway.
Yeah, so maybe
no one seems particularly concerned anymore.
We filled in the gaps for them there brilliantly, I thought.
Yes, I thought so. So we've reached the end of that. What are we going to talk about now?
Well, I don't know.
Obviously, I've got a list of gags and a few other things.
Okay. We'll launch into that then.
You want to talk about some other things? I like the way they used the Maori cultural reference of the Taniwha and incorporated that into the show as a scary thing.
Okay.
A supernatural element, which was really cool.
Well, let me ask you this. Have they, you've watched series 1, I'll assume.
Yep.
Have they worked any other New Zealand Maori cultural references in as threats before?
Most of the things they face are werewolves, vampires, witches,
ghosts,
the usual run-of-the-mill supernatural stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So this was a nice...
done.
Yeah, I like the way they added this into it. And it also gives us that bit of a Loch Ness Monster vibe, which I think is pretty cool. And a bit of Jurassic Park, and you were getting some Alien. So it was all hints of all those sorts of things, which was pretty cool.
I agree. I was just going to say, the good thing about having a monster is that you don't have to have a guest star or come up with lines and these sorts of things, because when there's the difference in Doctor Who between a villain and a monster, right? So I say a monster is an unspeaking, you can't reason with it being, whereas a villain is one that you can communicate verbally with or telepathically, and it can be reasoned with.
Yep.
So a Dalek is a villain, not a monster, and whereas, the Drashig, for example, you can't communicate and or reason with the Drashig. So I think there's benefits to having the Taniwha, which are a little bit Drashig-like, in this show, in that, you can give your actors all the best lines, your regular cast, and they don't have to share the spotlight with some guest star being a werewolf and hogging the spotlight and all the best lines.
I can see it.
So it's brilliant for your regular cast. I mean, how often does the Sarge appear on camera this much in all the other episodes?
Oh, yeah, nowhere near this much.
Yeah, see, he'd be loving this one.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, that was very good. I thought it was an interesting twist on the mockumentary that the crew gets eaten by the Taniwha.
Yeah.
And the police are completely nonplussed about this, right?
Where's the investigation into the crew deaths?
Yeah, so presumably the day after the crew disappear, eaten, what have they done about it?
I don't know.
Nada. Even Parker.
Well, they probably weren't Wellingtonians, so their lives are for naught. They might be Aucklanders.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Ding.
Yes, like Woollerton.
Oh, like a what?
Yeah, Woollerton. This is a callback to your nominated sitcom, Steve. Because in Dog River, or whatever it's called, they hate Woollerton, and they do exactly what you did whenever someone mentions Woollerton.
Yep.
They go...
We're talking about Corner Gas, in case people haven't
so,
caught on.
Well, we've done Corner Gas twice. It's one of the privileged few sitcoms that Sitcom Showdown has invested to in. Anyway,
Indeed.
Yeah, it's very much a similar thing.
Yes. So talking about Parker, I like that when Sarge finally gives him his shot, he's left to spend the night alone on this deadly beach.
Yeah.
And then completely muffs it.
Yep.
So that was really good.
He's inept, I say. And they when they were paying tribute to him, so to speak, they said he was very punctual.
Wow.
But he had a fear of criminals, which if you're a police person does not help.
No, I'd call that a drawback if you were a police officer. Why is he so keen to join in on the
I don't know, because he's
the
a
special
child.
unit? Because he's a child.
He's an old child, I'll grant you that, mid-30s child, but...
I don't know. Also thought this was very similar to an Australian sense of humour. It's low-key, there's a bit of larrikinism.
Yep.
There's a bit of poking fun at the authorities and all that sort of stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, I reckon so.
All right, I've got some gags. Or do you have any other thoughts, general thoughts, before we move into that?
Oh, well, look, I've got some negative comments.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Go on then.
Well, I thought it got
Don't
a bit...
tell me the special effects are a negative.
No, definitely not. I was quite pleased to see the special effects, I must say. So, no, I thought it got a bit boring on the boat when they were telling tales. I think it sucked the momentum out of it. Like, it was all complete gold. I'm thinking, this can't be this good. And then they got to the boat and it sort of, it fell back a few notches, I felt. Luckily, that little section only lasts 3 or 4 minutes. And then the monster appears and kind of, bails it out. But I just thought some of the stuff with the captain...
would you have cut the captain's tail out?
So we've watched a lot of these sort of mockumentary sitcoms, and there's certain things you see over and over again, and then with improvisational comedy, well, I've ranted about this before, but the great thing about this is that up to that point, it had all been fresh, brilliant, wow, I didn't expect that sort of stuff, and then they get to the captain, and it's sort of a bit predictable.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Anyway, the performer who was the captain, he was not only fine, I thought he was very good.
Yep. I was going to say he grabbed it with both hands, but
that's right.
That would have been one hand and hook.
And I think, similarly, at the end, you mentioned it sort of fizzled out a bit. And I did think it felt like there were no stakes because it was just too silly. But after I'd written that comment, I realised how stupid that was because this is an incredibly silly thing. I mean, if we were talking about the goodies, you wouldn't say, with Brian the Giant Cod, there were no stakes in that.
Mm-hmm. You just enjoy it for what it is.
So you can take that or leave it. Yes, and the only other negative comment is that I thought it was predictable that they'd be mating a mating pair of Taniwha. Oh. But I can see why they did that. I mean, I think I've just seen shows where that's happened before. And you go, what? Yes, what shows could you ever have watched where this situation played out before? But anyway, never mind that. But I think it has its benefits from a production standpoint, right? Because if you'd had two battling Taniwha, which are these big mighty beasts...
How are police supposed to interact with that?
How are they supposed to interact with that?
On a shoestring budget.
Very well put. And also, then there would have to be a winner, and it'd involve a lot of destruction, and that's a hell of a lot of special effects budget. So it's much easier to make them a mating couple, blur it out, and then it sort of comes to its conclusion.
Yep. Comes to a crescendo.
Yeah. But ultimately it was a little bit unsatisfying, but that's only a minor niggle, I think. It's only, a tiny complaint.
Shall we go on to some gags?
Yep.
When Parker's asking to be let into the secret office, the Sarge says, that's only there on a need-to-know basis. And Parker says, well, I'd like to need to know.
Yeah. To which the Sarge replies, it's not a like-to-know basis, it's a need-to-know basis. And the brilliant callback later on. Were you going to mention the brilliant callback?
No, what was the brilliant callback?
The brilliant callback later on after they thought Parker was dead. And he goes, well, I did tell Parker it was a need-to-know basis, and perhaps he did need to know a little bit more about this situation.
Maybe I should have told him about the giant man-eating monster.
Yeah.
Perhaps he wouldn't have tucked himself up into bed so quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that was jolly good.
When they're on their way to the bay for the first time, all four of them in the police car, and at that stage, the Sarge hasn't really shared his thoughts with them fully, and Parker says, what about sirens? And Minogue just hears sirens, and he puts the sirens on in the car. Yeah. No, turn it off. And then the Sarge goes on to explain what a siren is to Minogue. I'm presuming O'Leary already knew what a siren was. But then Parker goes into this
siren song.
His version of a siren song. It's just hilarious. Come to my rock. Come to my beauty. Something like that.
Oh, my goodness.
It was really good. The cup of Milo, a.k.a. the early warning device,
Yeah.
It's in a pink I love mum mug.
Yeah. Because he would have asked
This is
Parker to
Parker's.
bring it along.
Yeah.
He would have said, all right, Parker, make sure you bring... Well, he asked him to bring his sleeping bag for a start.
Yep.
And there's some nice dialogue there. He just thought they were having a camp out. He didn't know there was going to be...
Absolutely not. What would he use as a weapon, Jeff?
I don't know. What would be something suitable? A harpoon, perhaps.
I know that Parker would have a harpoon.
Oh, no,
lying
he
around.
might not have one lying around. No. Fair enough. Some pepper spray.
Yeah, maybe some pepper spray. I'm not sure if that would work against a magnificent Taniwha. Sarge gets asked, will Parker be alright by himself on the beach? And Sarge goes, oh yeah, it's a sea-based creature. There's no evidence that it's made its way onto land. And while he's saying it, O'Leary trips into this
Massive.
huge footprint, which
It's
we can see from our...
Yeah, vantage point. It's like a forest for the trees thing. Like, it's in fact so big a footprint that when you're that close up to it, you don't realise it's a footprint.
No.
Because it's huge.
Exactly.
Oh,
I don't know if you would have noticed this, but
Yeah.
Parker's pyjamas underneath his police vest.
I thought that was like a camouflage thing.
Oh, they were his nim jams, dude.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Oh,
So he got changed into his pyjamas, put his vest and his hat on, and then goes to sleep.
he is hopeless.
He is pretty hopeless. Sarge punctuates the start of his tale about the two Taniwha with this Maori whistle.
Yeah. Which he's whipping
Sing-
out at every opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a different whistle.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it signifies that this is a tale of renown or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It's a mystical tale of ye olde times.
Oh, okay.
Yep. What do you think?
No, totally.
It's communicating all that stuff.
It
Yep.
does.
Yes, we've already talked about Minogue running out the runner water because it was cold. We talked about Minogue reacting when he realised he's just rescued an arm. The Sarge says when they realise that Parker's been eaten by the Taniwha, well, they think Parker's been eaten by the Taniwha, it's a poetic death, a warrior's death. It's like, where is he getting this from?
There was nothing bold or warlike about it at all.
He was in his pyjamas
Yeah.
and he wasn't paying attention to the Milo. We've talked about we're going to need a bigger chili bin.
Yep.
And,
Yeah, to put the two legs in. So all that's left of this chappie is his arm and his two legs.
Just the two boots.
Oh.
Parker getting told to get off the beach to give the two Taniwha some privacy. That was pretty funny. And the pixelating out of the mating Taniwha. I thought that was pretty funny. And now I've reached the end of my list. Are there any I didn't get to?
Look, there's heaps, dude.
Ooh.
I mean, the dialogue in this bloody show is so rich. It's just, there's endless bits. So there's this whole, I've never been in the back of a police car before, bits of
Yes,
dialogue.
when the four of them are heading down
Sarge
together.
is in the back of the car with Parker, and Parker's like, oh, I've never been in the back of a police car before. And I could see why people don't like it when we put them in there. And Sarge goes, it is a bit intimidating and something.
Humiliating
And
or
then...
humbling or something.
And
in response to this banter in the back of the car.
Yeah, oh no, that's
They
right.
just-
They said, shut up, you in the back, or something even more abusive.
Yeah, they're just so used to hurling abuse at the people in the back of the...
And then they
The back of the
realised
car.
what they said. Oh, sorry, Sarge.
Yeah.
It was gold, dude.
Yeah. They did it well.
Oh, my word. Yeah, so that was like 20 seconds of genius right there. You brought up my favourite line, which was conflicting eyewitness reports from the same person.
That's all right. He got his comeuppance for it.
Yeah, I'm getting to the arm-related dialogue in a
okay.
minute. But first I want to bring up... I could barely say this without laughing, but Sarge, just because he's got such a deadpan delivery and he's talking about an unidentified swimming object, a USO.
USO. Yeah. He doesn't actually say USO.
No, he
but
doesn't, but...
That's where my mind went.
Sorry, I've got to get myself back together here. When Minogue's going into the water very reluctantly, and he comes out going, cold, and they tell him to get back in there. And then O'Leary shouts, take your taser off, out of your pouch there, you'll electrocute yourself, which is nonsense for a start. And so Minogue holds it in his mouth, and he's got the electric end in his mouth.
I bet
He's
that
about
was
to
ad-libbed,
dive
right?
into the ocean. And then, what? Oh,
I wonder if they did that catch in one take. It was a good catch.
It was good. Look, and so there's two more bits of dialogue, right? So I've referred a few times to the arm-related dialogue, and that's all genius. And they're talking directly to the camera and saying, now, if this is your arm, you can come along and see us at the station, and we'll give it back to you. And then Minogue interrupts O'Leary saying this and says, no, we'll exchange it. We'll give you your arm back in exchange for information about what took place on the beach here today. And O'Leary's just shaking his head, no, if it's your arm, we'll give it back to you.
If you can prove it's your arm.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So this arm, they did a close-up on it at some point, and there's a tattoo on it. And then this comes up about 15 minutes later, when the disagreeable, uncooperative dude who dies, shortly before he dies, is talking about it, and he's talking with Minogue, and he's saying, I'm going to miss that tattoo on my arm, I'll have to get it done again. Yeah. And Minogue says, well, you might want to get it done on your other arm.
Do you think?
There's heaps more arm dialogue that was pretty cool. I thought it was great. And then at the very end, after everything's been done, and the two Taniwha, they're out there in the ocean all pixelated because they're in a marathon lovemaking session, as the officers put it.
Yep.
There's all this beholding dialogue. Like this. It's very romantic, they say. It's a sight to behold. And then O'Leary says, well, we've been beholding it for about 2.5 hours now.
I wonder how much longer we're going to have to behold it.
And then they go, I wouldn't want to behold that. I'm not going to hold it. It's just,
You can tell they were riffing on it and having a good time.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of sitcom episodes in my life, but this, the fact that this had the capacity to surprise me so often, so many times, with stuff I've gone, oh man, I've never heard that one before.
There you go. All right, so I'm thinking of invoking my speciality-based nomination privileges by saying I'm not going to nominate this as a 5-star episode for your consideration. I'm just bringing it along for the fun of it.
In the same way we do with an actor, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
But what about this episode standing alone in its own right?
On its own right. Well, I laughed more at this than I have at a hell of a lot of other sitcoms. So there you go. I'm going to praise it while remaining non-committal.
Okay, fair enough.
So there you go.
I'm happy with that.
I'm giving it 2 thumbs up.
Okay. And a hook.
Yeah. 2 thumbs up and a hook with a cork on it.
Yep. All right, well, shall we leave the listeners then?
Yep.
And what are we doing next month?
I have no idea.
Well, you should, because it's your turn.
Yeah. Well, I'm not supposed to tell you in advance, but I think what you're asking is there a theme?
Yes, is there a theme?
Is there a theme to November? I don't think there is. No. Needless to say, we'll be back next month with a sitcom
with more fun
to discuss. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good one. Thanks, Jeff. And thanks, listeners. And we'll see you in a month.
Cheers.
Bye.
Join us next time on Sitcom Showdown, when we'll be putting another 5-star episode under the microscope. And in the meantime, you can contact us with feedback on Facebook, Twitter @Sitcom Showdown, or by email sitcomshowdown@gmail.com.